Commencing operation outfeed table. Now I've always found it hard to settle with a specific design. I always find myself changing things, but something that I have never actually put effort into creating at all is our outfeed table. We've got a couple poorly constructed tables stacked together, and they kind of seem to almost perfectly meet up with the surface of our table saw. And these tables were in the shop when we moved in here, and we decided to stack them up, and it works for now, and it's been working for a while, but it's not a real outfeed table. And I'd like to actually put a little bit of time and effort into making something a little bit better and a little more effective. I'd like to actually get my router table up attached to the outfeed table so that it can share a fence with my table saw. And little things like combining tools and having multi-purpose workstations really make a difference in a smaller space and in a smaller shop. It's gonna be a little bit of a larger operation, so it's gonna take me a little time to complete, but I think the reward is definitely gonna be worth it on this one. To start off, I'm just cutting some plywood to size for the surface of the outfeed table. I plan to have my table saw inlaid to the table, and I don't want the table as deep as my original, but a little bit wider. Alright, so I've got all my pieces cut. I'm just doing a dry fit real quick. And that's looking pretty good to me. And now I'm going to go ahead and start constructing my frame. So I'm just getting all these pieces cut to size, and now I am screwing it all together. Alright, there is the surface, and I've left an opening that is a perfect size for the table saw because I'm going to be removing the wings off of the side. Alright, I'm just throwing a few more boards underneath for a little bit of extra support. Alright, so I am cloning the frame, and this is going to be the frame for the bottom shelf. So I'm just lining it up with the original frame. And this one will have supports going all the way through. Alright, now I've got the pieces flipped upside down, the shelf support on top of the surface. And now I'm going to go ahead and start attaching the legs. Now that the legs are attached, I'm going to go ahead and flip this back upright. And now I'm gonna slowly scoot out that bottom shelf. And the distance I am measuring is going to be the height of the table saw. And I'm keeping in mind the size of the plywood that's gonna be going on the shelf. I'm measuring a little bit lower than I need to because I'd rather shim the table saw up into place than accidentally have it be a little bit too tall. Alright, so the shelf is all attached, and now I'm ready to flip this up. And I'm repurposing some of the plywood from the old outfeed table. So I'm just going to cut this to size and see if I can make it work for the bottom shelf. Alright, I've got the shelf pretty much covered and it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and start air nailing some of these pieces down. And I'm throwing a few more supports in where the table saw is going to be sitting. And the piece of plywood I'm using right here is a little bit thinner than the rest of the shelf. This should result in a table saw sitting very flush with the surface of the outfeed table. Alright, I'm just measuring for my fence rails because I'm going to have to cut a hole for it. And I'm just using the jigsaw to do this. Alright, I've got my fence attached. Now I'm just doing a test fit. And it fits pretty well. We got full motion with the fence. Alright, so I'm taking apart my router table. I want to repurpose the surface, but I'm going to have to cut it down to size because it's not going to fit at the size that it is currently. So I get to test out the feed out table by ripping down the router surface. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut out a hole so that I can inlay my router table. And I've got a very tight fit. I'm using a mallet just to go ahead and make sure it fits in there all right. Now that I know it fits, I'm going to go ahead and take it out and then sand the surface of the outfeed table. Once it's all sanded, I'm going to go ahead and throw down a coat of polyurethane. I used a high shine and it actually gave me a pretty slick surface, which is nice. It's going to help me slide boards across pretty easily. And I decided I want to go ahead and throw some trim around the outside of this table just to make it look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and rip down some boards for that. I'm just measuring the perimeter to cut these down to size. Now I'm just going to go ahead and sand them up a little bit. And once they're all cut to size and sanded, I'm going to go ahead and paint them. I've decided that I kind of want to start using red paint on a lot of stuff in my shop. I think it'd be cool to kind of add a little bit of a color scheme. So I guess you can say this is the beginning of my color scheming project. Alright, and while that dries, I'm going to go ahead and attach my router table. And it's hard to film what I'm doing under here, but I'm basically just adding lips. That way I can pull the table out if I ever need to, but it won't fall through and it should stay flush with the tabletop. Alright, once that's all secure, I drop my router into the table. And I test out my fence to make sure it runs pretty smooth, and it does. And I'm really happy with the way that fit in there. So now I'm attaching the trim. I'm just using an air nailer, and I'm throwing a few screws in there afterwards. And I'm really happy with the way this trim looks. I didn't do it in this video, but I might end up doing trim around the bottom shelf sometime as well. And I pulled this switch off the old Ryobi router table, so I just threw this on there so I don't have to reach down every time I want to turn the table saw on. And now I'm extending my crosscut grooves. I want all of my sleds and jigs to be able to push to their fullest, so I'm going to go ahead and remove some of this plywood material that's in the way. I start with a hole and then just take the jigsaw to finish the job. Now I'm just going to go ahead and sand this up a little bit. Because this is OSB, I want to make sure that I'm not going to have any chip out. And that came out really nice. I'm really happy with the results. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is one of those projects that's really gonna make a huge difference for me in the shop. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I'm really happy that I finally did. There still are a few improvements I wanna make to this design, and hopefully I will have it up to its final form in the next week or so. I just wanted to film a quick video to kind of give you guys a rundown of the build that I was doing. And hopefully this video will inspire some of you guys to make your own shop upgrades. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some comments down below. I would love to hear any input you have. Even any tips, ways for me to improve this, I would love to hear them. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.